You've gone all the way, you've even got your, yeah, you have a star.
No, no scarf.
I was gonna go grab it.
Okay.
I don't have much to keep my head. So, yeah, maybe the other one.
Well, I'm always ready if I need to.
Yeah, let's get some homework.
I really don't like to be cold. We're good.
They're big too. I mean, that's how we think about it. So we'll have to put that in humanity.
Mark, I'm ready when you are.
Would everyone stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence for the three service members that were killed in the drone attack. Thank you.
Mr. President, move to executive session pursuant to general laws 42-46-5A2, number 1, and number 2 pursuant to Rhode Island general laws 42-46-5A1.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Upstairs.
Just
I didn't go, but it's okay. I'll survive.
Move to come out of executive session.
Oh, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Move to seal executive session minutes.
Sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. So do we now vote, correct?
Mr. President,
Yes.
motion to appoint attorney Chris Sangari as our new town solicitor.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Is he here? Congratulations, welcome to the party.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Who should I get in touch with tomorrow morning? Okay. I'll give you a call, what time do you?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock, we'll be talking.
Great.
Thank you very much. Thank you, yes.
Great to meet you.
And I want to publicly give Karen Ellsworth a heartfelt thank you for all the years of service here to the town of Richmond. And you should be applauded for the amount of years that you put in here. And overall, I'd have to say you've been decent to good to work with. My short little tenure here on the council, but I want to thank you very much for your tenure here.
Thank you.
Serving Richmond. We thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen.
So moving on to new business, we have it, item E. Bullet point number 1, discussion of job performance of electrical inspector with Jeff, regarding Jeffrey Valance. Can't speak English tonight.
Mr. President, I was talking with the Ethics Commission, and it's not that it's carved in stone, whether or not they said I should or shouldn't. They just thought it would be a good idea. I'm going to have to recuse myself from the discussion, and I will be stepping down, sitting in the audience. I'll put this out that there and I'll give it to you soon.
So,
Would you like me to start?
yes, please.
I'm kind of gonna go through a timeline and I'm gonna be reading from notes. I figure I'll just give you a copy of my note. So just to kind of recap where we've come from the beginning here. March 2nd, Sean Lacey, who was our planner at the time, notified Mr. Valancourt that he wasn't the candidate that their department was recommending for the position. And we received what I consider to be a very unprofessional response, email back to me explaining all the reasons why he disagreed with that decision. And an accusation that was incorrect about us using someone else for that who didn't have the proper credentials. March 21st, the council hired Jeff as the electrical inspector. March 5th, a complaint to building, planning, zoning that Jeff wasn't returning phone calls to a resident who was looking for an inspection. April 25th and May 11th, resident complaints of missed electrical inspections. These last 3 things, the council wasn't advised it can rise to that level at that point, I didn't think, but in an effort to just kind of explain all the things that have led to where we are now, I thought it was important to include those. May 11th, a complaint from a business owner regarding interactions with Jeff. This business owner sent us several audio files. that depicted behavior that was inappropriate for an inspector. This included swearing, you could hear the frustration level in Mr. Valancourt's voice. It was what I felt was inappropriate. If anybody heard it, I think they would agree. The business owner also complained that he didn't show up for appointments. They felt the behavior started when he was trying to sell something that that transaction didn't come to fruition. May 23rd, the Building Planning Zoning Department advised there were numerous complaints that calls to Jeff's cell phone for inspections were being forwarded to his Amity Electric business phone number. We had an executive session on June 6th. You heard details of the complaint from May 11th. And some additional complaint that was also brought to the attention of Council President Trimmer. Both business owners were women. They felt he was dismissive of them, and both were complaining that he was requiring electrical work that was over and above what the code required. At that point, the council decided to retain Mr. Valancourt. In August, during the fair, I received calls regarding Jeff's behavior at the Washington County Fair. They felt he was getting involved in things that he didn't have purview over, and that he was trying to position himself to be the fair's electrician in future years. They said he showed up in his personal company vehicle. They also complained that he was hanging around unnecessarily and made them feel uncomfortable. He placed violation notices on equipment at the last minute rather than doing the inspections before the weekend prior to the fair. The implication was that the fair was unsafe, and I think when we met in open session after that, Mr. Valancourt made it a referendum on the safeness of the fair rather than his behavior. August 29th, a formal complaint from a business owner referenced in the June 6th executive session. This business owner said Jeff had cost them over $50,000 in unnecessary work that was required over and above the code. She did make a point of saying she felt very supported by the town hall staff as far as obtaining licenses and whatnot, but she actually felt like maybe she should sell this business before she opened it because of her experience with our electrical inspector. On the 29th of August, we had a job performance discussion here in open session, and no action was taken at that time. The new complaints begin here on December 7th. A complaint was made by the trustees of a cemetery regarding Mr. Valancourt stopping unsolicited and reportedly rudely reminding their electrician that they needed to get a permit, that parking behind his vehicle and taking photographs of the vehicle. A follow-up call that I made to that electrician resulted in an additional complaint saying that on another occasion, he was at a friend's home here in Richmond, helping him with electrical outlets in a garage. And Jeff stopped uninvited and said, "You don't want to see what happens if you don't get a permit." The electrician felt like he was being intimidated by our electrical inspector. And the last was a very large business owner in this town who's now requesting an alternate electrical inspector. They've had no official interaction with him in terms of inspections, but they did say that he entered the property, showed himself around. He was intercepted and given a tour. When I questioned Jeff about this, he initially denied he'd ever been there, but then he said he had gone there with his wife, not on official business. The representative of the business refutes that Jeff's wife was there, and said he was in his personal company and truck. And again, he was touting his ability as a commercial electrical contractor as if he was trying to get work from this business. He also seemed to be suggesting that work that would be required over and above code. And then when I questioned him about the discrepancy in the story, suddenly Jeff stopped answering my text messages. I sent him an email. He's still not answered my emails about this. So just to recap, major issues that appear to be a pattern of behavior with Mr. Valencourt: failure to show up for inspections, intimidating behavior and treatment of residential and business owners, foul language used towards applicants, reports of requiring excessive work above the electrical code, showing up unannounced at job sites, and the most concerning of all is that he is attempting to cultivate work through his position as our electrical inspector, which we learned tonight is an ethics violation.
Thank you, Karen. Yeah,
Yes,
do you have anything you'd like to add or say?
I have a copy of that, for my sake of use. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So we all know the conversation, if I'm not mistaken, up to the point of $829.
Right.
And I would have to say that if I was given this previously, I would put a notation next to each one and present it, because this is a one-sided conversation on this piece of paper. And I believe that the record would show that of numerous of these items, I have had in-depth conversations back and forth with you on that. As far as Jeff not returning telephone calls and missing electrical inspections, I don't have any knowledge of missing phone calls or not returning calls or missing electrical inspections, because everyone that has contacted me, I've returned that call. And everyone that has asked for an electrical inspection, I have done them. And I've done them at their convenience. So besides that, I mean, if I go down here and say, are there any discrepancies involved in any of this? I'm not sure. We both relived it. We both lived it together. I will have to say that this 829 formal complaint from a business owner reference in a 6-6 executive session says Jeff has cost him $50,000 in unnecessary work. Said she felt very supported by the town and with permitting, but felt like she should sell her business and get out because of her experience with the electrical inspector. We all know who this is.
Actually, I don't.
Well, it's funny because
I'm not,
that's funny because you called me personally on my cell phone about
if
this
that,
as the electrical inspector and asked me to go and see these people. So you directed me as the town council president. You intervened with me to go visit them.
yeah, I asked you what was going on.
Correct. So you do know who I'm talking about.
Now I know, now I do, yeah.
So with that being said, you as the town council president directed me,
I asked you what was going on,
and you set a meeting for me that I went to.
because they said that they had been unable to set up a appointment with you.
It's not true.
Well, that's what they said.
That's what they said. It's $50,000 worth of unnecessary work. Doesn't reflect on any permits that they pulled. And the unnecessary work that I read in their complaint previously was with regards to the above ceiling wiring during the demo of that project. The demolition of that project was prior to my existence as the electrical inspector. When I started as the electrical inspector, Anthony, if you recall, you said to me, "Hey Jeff, by the way, Romex wire above a commercial drop ceiling. Can't have that, can you?" And I said, "No, you can't." He said, "Good." So that's what I told him. No problem. So he's right. He's 100% correct in what he said. Now, I'm not saying that he said that to them, but that's what their problem was. And they did that.
I was under the understanding it was moving a box from one floor to another floor, an electrical box.
That's correct. That was the conversation that we had, but that wasn't a $50,000 job that they did. There are other conversations about wiring above the drop ceiling. Now, may I add, please, that this podium and this council here is not where a $50,000 discrepancy and or they feel it the unnecessary work that I pushed upon them, stating the electrical code. If someone has a problem in this town with what the electrical inspector says, if there's a problem with what building department says to them, what are they supposed to do besides call the administrator? Or when they do call the administrator, where are they supposed to be directed to? Here?
I would assume the person that is in charge of our building inspection.
And then if they get to the building inspection department and they agree or disagree with that, him, let's just say him, generally speaking, where do they go from there? What are they advised to do?
I don't know, what are you getting at?
What I'm getting at is that this town has what they call the Building Code Commission Board.
Mhm.
And that is where they're supposed to go with these situations. If someone in this town feels that the building department is overstepping, or if the electrical department, the plumbing, the mechanical, that's the board that they go to, similar to the planning board and the zoning board and whatnot. Not here. Because I would have to say, and it's surprising that you say you don't know, because you just, I don't know.
I've never had a conversation
Re-up.
with her pulling out or an amount of investment, so I don't know.
I never had a conversation with her either. As a matter of fact, I have never, ever even had a conversation with this person for that person to say that they felt dismissed by me. The only interaction I had was with her electrical contractor.
Okay, just, if we have a council, if you have a question here?
Yeah, so I understand that, you know, if somebody's not happy with the advice or not more than advice, the direction you're giving them to fix their electrical issue, that they could be tense. Which is why it's very important to have somebody in this position who can conduct themselves properly under pressure. And the major issues and patterns of behavior don't say giving violations. They say the same things that I've been asking basically since day one. Failure to show up for inspections, intimidating behavior, treatment of residential business owner, foul language used towards applicants. Reports requiring excessive work above electrical code. Maybe that sneaks into what you're saying right there, actually, now that I'm reading these off. But showing up unannounced at job sites. And the most concerning is, again, trying to sell yourself as an electrician. And I've asked this before, and I've asked this again, and I've yet to get an answer to it. Under what circumstances is it okay to be swearing at and intimidating business owner, or anybody for that matter? When is it okay? That's all I'd like answered. That's the only question I think I have. When is it okay?
I'm gonna try and do this judiciously where we're doing one.
Well, how about-
That way you can avoid just like last time, I didn't get any of my questions answered when the Washington County Fair was strung through the ringer. I had these questions, but nobody wanted to talk about them.
Jeff, could you answer a question?
Clearly, I can't.
I'd like to know too.
So she asked like 7 questions.
Well, the question we.
I asked one question.
The question
Go
we
ahead.
both would like to know is, when is it okay to intimidate, swear at, holler at someone who you're inspecting?
It's not okay.
Yeah.
It's not okay, but there is a course of dealing with some people. I have recorded almost every one of my electrical inspections since this time. And I've been on inspections with my direct supervisor. And Anthony and myself and whatever, we do use curse words on the job together. There's no doubt about it. I have it right on tape as we're on a job. Hey, how the F are you? F, up, whatever. We both do it. We all do it. There's no doubt about it. I have it that in a recording. That is in this council chamber, in a court of law, in certain areas, you don't do it. You do it, you do it, you do it. But there are certain areas that it doesn't get done. And there are certain areas it does get done.
Well, I don't want to
And
get
I'm not
down,
doing it here tonight.
I don't want to get down a rabbit hole. What I'd like to hear.
I'm just answering her question.
Okay, yeah, and I appreciate it. You answered it. So this is what we're faced with as a council. We are faced with an electrical inspector that 3 of us went out on a limb to support. Okay, now let me finish the biggest event in town won't let you come in and inspect it. One of the largest businesses in town, arguably the largest taxpayer in town, doesn't want you to come in. And the only 2 new businesses that opened up in town that I know of, I think there might have been a third one, there was the bakery, but they didn't complain. The 2 businesses that opened up in town this year don't want you there. So we're in a situation where we have an electrical inspector who can't, we're gonna have to hire a second electrical inspector to inspect what you can go to and what you can't inspect. How do we work around that?
Okay, so
And it isn't
I
a
will-
technical thing. I'm sorry,
No.
it's not a technical thing. Like, you and I both work in the world of electricity and technology. And I truly respect, I will state again that I respect what you do. But the inspection thing, it's a personality thing, and we can't work with it anymore.
here's the thing that I will say is that I own it and I apologize and I own it for what I had done at that first incident.
Mhm.
Okay? I 100% own it. The fair made numerous statements and accusations, claims of fact, that I stood here and disputed. So I find it very difficult, and there's clear and present evidence on the property of what I talked about. So I am going to say that I feel that although I was hired by the town council to do this job, it was under protest by others, which is a fact. And that protest by others, if you do read this, although it is the first thing that I did, it is absolutely 100% repeats itself over and over again for some reason. Selling my services to people.
Well, I went to speak to the people at Pasquale Farms, and they said I forgot what it was, gravel or something like that, you had tried to sell them.
I didn't try to sell it to them. I said I had some that I was going to sell, okay? And they said, wow, that would be great. We would like to buy it, and we would like to buy a majority of it. How much? And I said, I'm not even in that business. I'm not even in that business. You tell me how much that would be.
So you initiated the conversation, like, so if you had been with us during the ethics training we just went through, that's exactly what they said. You initiated the conversation versus them coming to you.
Listen,
But either way,
I'm not-
either way, when it comes to the aggressive behavior, all meetings, what is the 3rd meeting I've been through this, there's never been a denial. And there's never been, no, I didn't do that. It's, I apologize for my actions. So I guess our question as the council is, when is enough enough?
That's your question to the council.
Right, that's what I asked my colleagues.
But
Well, I think we need to give Jeff a chance to say what he needs to say.
So like I was saying previously, I feel that although you did hire me to do this or appoint me to do this, that it was under protest.
Mostly from a person who's no longer working for the town.
And that's fine, but there's still more of that in the town. I filed a complaint myself and about someone in this room. And I think it's more as a combined retaliatory type thing. It's more of a pointed issue. As a matter of fact, I stood there and watched. As a matter of fact, has anybody in here gotten a complaint of any other building official?
No.
No. Okay. Well, I stood there and saw a number. I have it on tape because I taped them all. I was with you at a particular event, and someone stood there and complained directly about another building official and their actions. Where did that go?
I don't know.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Number 4 box truck.
And I don't like people taping me.
I wasn't taping you. I was covering myself. I wasn't taping you. I was covering myself. And I don't like people taping me either.
I've been doing this for 31 years. I don't like people taping me.
I don't like people taping me either, Tony. And I apologize for having to say this, but I'm being attacked. I'm being 100% attacked. I'm not attacking you. I'm stating the fact that I believe that if somebody's recording me, they're doing it for a reason. They're doing it on purpose.
But I can't imagine the largest event in town having a personal vendetta against you. I can't imagine the largest taxpayer in town having a personal vendetta against you.
Mr. President, and not only that, we've had nonprofits, small businesses, big businesses, for-profits, like it's not isolated. And maybe at first, as we went through the chain, we thought it might have been isolated, then we learned it wasn't isolated. And that's another concern I wanted to just quickly raise. And I feel like I appreciate you letting us know if there's other complaints, because I will be asking for them, but that's not what we're here for tonight. So I'd really like to stay on topic with his job performance instead of deflecting onto others.
I'm describing what I think about the situation.
Fair.
As far as me requesting or asking anybody for a permit for any electrical job in town, that's absolutely 100% acceptable. If someone's doing electrical work in town and I see them and they don't have a permit, and I know that they don't because I issued them all. I can talk to them about it. I can say, this work requires an electrical permit.
Yeah, I know that.
So for someone to say, someone to add a lot of fluff onto it to get to be vindictive, that's fine.
I think it's about not just, and it's always easy to say, I follow the rules or I follow the law. But the thing is, you can follow the law in 2 different ways. You can do it in a very, very tactful way, or because you're representing the town, or you can do it the way it appears that you did it.
I did do it very tactful with that incident. This is being played out differently. This right here, I did not yell at anyone. I didn't drive by and yell out my window. I casually walked up, introduced myself, told him my name. I said, "Hi, how are you? I'm driving by, I see you doing," there were 2 trucks there. I drove by, I saw them doing whatever they were doing. And I said, "All right, well," I said, "I don't think there's a permit on this particular project." Then drove by again. I said, "Hello" again. You know, I got out and said, "Hello."
Didn't take pictures, didn't, none of that.
Take pictures?
Yeah.
On the 3rd drive by I did. I was driving by, I took pictures, yeah. Because that's what's needed. That's what's needed. In a situation like that, someone may ask, do you have anything to show me that says that individual was there? So I would say, yes, I do. And a lot of times, all the inspections would take pictures. So if someone's on a piece of property on the main drag doing work, you would think that they would get the electrical permit, that they know that they're required to.
Did they end up getting it?
No.
And were they doing something that required a permit or changing a light fixture?
They weren't changing a light fixture. They were installing new wires. They dug a trench. they installed new wires and they installed new fixtures. And I'm gonna interject with a very small amount of information for you. All new wiring have date codes on them when they were made,
I know that.
and the conduits do also. So for anybody to refer to the fact that the electrical was existing, and there's a date code on it from 2022, 2023, whatever it is, that coincides with the false statement.
So what do we do as a town? With us an inspector who we cannot send to the biggest event, you can't send to the biggest event in town, the biggest taxpayer in town, and
have to be concerned about conduct and how interaction with businesses are. How are we supposed to?
entice, bring new business into town if we have someone giving them a rough time.
I'm not giving them a rough time. I have recordings of every one of my inspections from the previous, and we can all, you and I can sit down alone together and review them together. You and I, Rich, can sit down and review them together. You and I can sit down and review them together. You'll see my demeanor and how happy I am to meet them and glad hand them and tell them about what they need or if they're fine. No worries. I got no problem with that because, like I said before, I learned from my mistake of what I did under pressure. That's true. That is a fact, and I own that. But what you just asked me, I have a question for. First of all, the biggest person that you're talking about, okay? If in fact they hired me to do that job, if in fact I was wiring the new, what's that place there, the lumberyard that's coming in?
Riverhead.
Riverhead.
Riverhead. If in fact I actually had that job, then we would have an alternate electrical inspector inspect my work, correct?
Correct.
And being an electrical inspector, I have a network of electrical inspectors that have offered to inspect any of the work that I do in town. 4 or 5 electrical inspectors have come up to me and said, hey, Jeff, if you ever need anything in town, you ever need backup, if you're gonna go on vacation, if you're out of town, or if you're doing a job in town, let me know. I'll be more than happy to check it, cover it for you, check it out. So that's your answer for that question. Because if I actually was, for some reason, the electrical inspector on any of these jobs, then I would call the people, well, I'd let Toby know, and then I would call that individual and they would come down and do the inspection. And guess what? Vice versa. I do the same for them because it's a network of people that have to do that because they do work in their own towns and cities themselves.
Again, Mr. President, how is that not quid pro quo? I'll get you a job with the town and you'll get me a job there. Like, how is that, explain that to me.
It crosses the ethical line.
No,
You're a business associate with these other people in other towns. The responsibility falls back on the town administrator to find an electrical inspector to inspect the work that you did on that property, not your responsibility. That's where that ethical line gets crossed, and it's so fast and so blurred to cross it. That's the concern. That's a huge concern.
that's up to you guys to.
No, it's not up to us. It's not up to us. It's up to the 505 meeting that we had with Lynn from the state and the ethics board that stated it explicitly. Ethics is so deep. Trust me, I've had my fair share in front of the ethics board. Okay. You as a business owner doing work in this town, yes, you can't inspect your own work. You know that.
Mhm.
But you cannot go and call up one of your friends, one of your guys who you swap work with. Like my father-in-law's electrical, is a master electrician. You would call up a friend, hey, can you help me out with this? Yeah, sure, I'll come and help you out. But you're in a different position. You're an elected, not elected, you're an appointed position.
I'm sorry,
You
Rich.
can't call a friend to come and inspect your work.
No, Rich, I'm sorry. I'm saying another electrical inspector in an adjacent town. I'm not saying they're my
Right.
friends. They
Right.
have the
That's-
same credentials.
Isn't that
Mr.
up to
President,
them?
what he's saying he's doing is calling his friend and saying, hey, Joe,
Even though
I'll
they're-
get you a job in town. And then Joe calls him and says, hey, Joe, or hey, I got a job for you. I'll go do this. I'll do it.
Let's not go down
Jeff,
that.
I'm just saying that it falls back to the town administrator to find an inspector to come and inspect your work.
I understand. Okay, I understand, but that's the procedure.
But that is the stuff that needs to be already known. In ethics, that you can't, she said it, you can't backdate your stuff. I'm sorry, can I get an advisory opinion for this job that I did 2 months ago and have this other guy inspect it for me? It doesn't, you can't go backwards with this. And that's the concern, is that there's that lack of understanding of that ethical line that can't be crossed
What was that training today?
at 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
Everybody-
but they offered previous
And
training.
you can still go and get it online and.
Was
and-
this
but it's-
something that should have been offered to me today?
Everybody,
Because it wasn't offered to me, and I would have absolutely 110% went.
I don't know if it was extended to employees. I know we had a lot of elected and appointed officials.
Yeah, it was for elected and appointed officials.
I'm an appointed official.
Right.
I'm the appointed electrical inspector, so. I
It's
would have
extended to
absolutely
department heads.
110%
extended to department heads.
And
It should
those
have
that
been
deal with
100%
boards.
given to me, FYI.
Excuse me?
It was extended to department heads and direct staff that deal with boards.
Okay, but
But the point being is that we now have to go out and hire another inspector for large parties, because these large business owners that don't feel comfortable with you being there. So that puts another cost on the town. And that's, I mean, this is our third meeting, and I'm.
I don't want to bankrupt the position.
Yeah, I don't, okay.
I know you're gonna talk there, but develop it.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I was wondering. All right, so then it would be a collaborative plan to figure out what we would do in those circumstances, which, I mean, it really depends on, like, I have no clue why the largest taxpayer would have any type of a chip on their shoulder not to have me come through the door over there, because I haven't inspected anything, nor have I even, set down any guidelines or rules or expectations to them on anything that they have going on there. I look forward to going over there and looking at all the stuff that they've done. And I mean, if that's the case, I mean, if they're having different inspections, Tony can come with me as a liaison with me, as my supervisor. I mean,
it's gotten to a point where the liability outweighs the benefit. And that the situation is, we have, I've been on the town council since 2016, and not in all the time that I was on I missed a year for cancer, or 2 years for cancer, but was on the council starting in 2016, and not in all the time that I've worked on the council have we ever had a town employee or a town appointed employee with a big complaint that I knew about. I know there may have been complaints, but they never got to me. And we never had anybody banned from a site. And so now we're in a situation, I work in a similar situation to what you do, where routinely service engineers and clinical engineers like myself get banned from a particular site. Usually it's by opening my mouth and sticking my foot in it. Usually it's about inappropriate comments or what have you. We had a guy use the C word to a department director, and he was banned for life from all Hartford hospital sites. But he ended up losing his job for that. And when we have a situation where our ace electrical inspector, who we all put our faith into, is banned from multiple sites and has similar stories that all kind of coexist from people that don't communicate with one another, that don't collude to create stories and so on. It puts us in an incredibly difficult position where we might get sued.
I feel that the phone call is going through one office that doesn't like it from the day before I even.
I don't know, I've had conversations with all four sites, personal one-on-one conversations with all four sites, and Jeff, I like you,
Mhm.
but I
Do I
can't,
intimidate you?
no.
Do I intimidate anyone on this council?
I'll say that no, and I've said that publicly in prior
I know.
meetings. I sat next to you at the Meet the Candidates night when you were running for office, and I thought that we got along great. I joked around with you, we had a fun time. It's my understanding that people who are active in town even like encourage you to apply, and we looked at it with an open mind, so I don't think that the vendetta, I don't see it, but I mean, everyone has their feelings and that's your perspective, and that's okay.
My feeling is that perhaps with maybe one or two of these, let's call up and say, hey, the electrical inspectors have come by, said that I need a permit. This is BS, whatever they say, yada, yada. And it's like, all right, we'll file a complaint, by the way, and then start asking questions. Did he ask you to do any work there? Did he, X, Y, Z,
Well,
like
I would be
top
honest
six-
that I've
like
had
the
these
top six
one-on-one
questions.
conversations with these people who have lodged the complaints, and they've made the same, that I haven't asked them anything. Like, tell me what the problem is, and they tell me what the problem is.
See, there's a major flaw in one of your complainers. The largest taxpayer in town.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I would never do work for them. Because it takes them forever. Do they pay the town on time?
Again, deflecting.
I'm not deflecting, I'm making a point.
That's,
well,
that,
Because of that.
but
Well,
again,
all I'm saying is that as a business person, we take that into consideration.
everything circles back to, we can't send you to the largest taxpayer in town, we can't send you to new businesses that locate in town, and we can't send you to the largest event that takes place in town. And it puts me and people on this council and our town administrator and our town solicitor in a difficult spot, and Tony in a very difficult spot. He's stuck in the middle. It's like between,
If the fair felt that I did not write the violations appropriately, then they need to bring that,
they did.
yeah. And they didn't bring it through the proper channels.
Their complaint specifically was that you could have done the work on Saturday, but you showed up the day that the fair started and you put violation tags on things. On a dunk tank that wasn't plugged in and wasn't going to be plugged in. That we can go through all that again, but it doesn't matter because we're to a point where we have to employ, the preserve does a lot of work.
Do they?
The lumber place does a lot of work.
Is there an issue that I have with them?
I don't know. But what I'm saying is that if we can't send you to different places, then we can't use you. That's the problem.
Well, that seems to be what the plan was with.
It's not the plan. It's certainly not the plan with me, and it's certainly not the plan with Helen, and neither with Mike either. I can speak that the three of us supported you, the three of us voted for you, the three of us were encouraged by you, you ran alongside us, you were a local guy that lived in town, you weren't somebody from, East Chippewa or whatever, but we're stuck now.
Yeah. I have not done any inspections or anything over at the preserve at all to have them come forward with a complaint. The last time that I was there was an invite over there by them. So,
All I'm saying is that we're at a point, the minuscule minutia doesn't matter. It's if you can't send somebody someplace, if they can't go someplace.
And Mr. President, it's really not just big businesses, it's the small ones too. And I even had a resident reach out to me, and maybe it's because you have chosen to do this publicly, but I did have a resident reach out to me and say that I'm building a playhouse for my children and to run electrical to it. Who am I gonna call? I'm concerned. And it was chosen to be done publicly, but that's part of the
I've had,
consequences of that.
they can
I've
call, they can call.
had a half a
electrical
dozen
inspector.
people that aren't on this complaint thing call up and say they're concerned.
Well, all I can do is say that I advise everybody to the book. I don't extend beyond what the book tells me to do. That's what I think that you expect me to do or demand me to do, is to follow the code and to enforce the rules. And that's that. I mean, like I said before,
But that's not what you're here for. You're not here because you didn't follow the rules. You're here because you did or said, or your reputation preceded you in such a way that these places don't want you to inspect. It has nothing to do with writing violations or following rules. It's a personality thing.
Well, like I said, I recorded every one of my inspections after that incident. And I can sit down with you and show every one of them how nice I am to everyone. I do it in a way that,
But unfortunately, word hasn't gotten to the people that are complaining yet.
well, because obviously they're complaining because they don't want me to come. There's something that they don't want me to look at. The fair, I can't comment on why they would not want me to go there, except for the fact that in the future, all of whatever I may see may incur a dollar value to them. And I don't necessarily see a dollar value on safety.
I don't think it's a violation thing. I think it's a personality thing.
Well,
There are people in this room who loathe my personality, and unfortunately, the people that you're
for
Trying
every
to
person that
inspect.
lose your personality, you can bring and stand next to them someone that doesn't.
And with that, it's not personality, it's aggressive behavior. That's not, maybe aggressive behavior is your personality. And that's one thing, but to say it's a personality thing, we just don't get along because we don't like each other, that's not how it is. It's aggressive behavior and foul language used towards applicants since literally the first meeting. It's just, and my concern is it's ongoing and ongoing and ongoing, and we don't get a resolution. I tried in the past, we extended probation. I tried to have the discussion in, August? And the discussion wasn't happening, and we're really just spinning our wheels here. And it's not a personality conflict, it's concern for aggressive behavior, intimidating aggressive behavior, which I've never felt, but that doesn't take away the feelings that other people are feeling.
At the fair, I never used any aggressive behavior with them, nor did I curse at them or any of those. That was our first incident. And I've recorded every one of them after that incident. I have no interaction with aggression with anyone. When it comes to somebody needing a permit or a violation or something, I'm as nice and factual as can be.
Unfortunately, that has no bearing on what the problem is at hand. The problem is at hand that we cannot use you at the largest event in town. We cannot use you at the largest taxpayers, the two largest taxpayers in town. And new businesses, we're desperate. On one hand, we're saying we want economic development in this town, and we want businesses to come in and help us defray the costs of new schools and roads and so on. And then on the other hand, we're driving them away with with an inspector who they have asked not to come. I mean, I'm talking around in circles here
I know you are.
at this point. We've reached a crossroads that I don't think we can recover from.
Well, if you feel that way, that's unfortunate.
Yes,
Can I just make a statement for the record?
sure.
When the position came open, I encouraged Jeff to apply. I was not on the interviews. I was not the one that made the recommendation for another electrical inspector. So it's not a personal thing for me. I don't know the other applicant from Adam. I didn't solicit any of these complaints. They all came to me. They all had a pattern. Most importantly, that Jeff was trying to solicit business for himself. And I feel like with every other time we've talked about it, it's become a deflection. I'm the bad guy. It's not Jeff taking responsibility, but the complainant's the bad guy. I'm the bad guy. Everyone's the bad guy, but the person who's taking responsibility for his actions. So I wanted on the record that I don't know the other applicant from Adam. I encourage Jeff to apply, and I just don't want to be labeled bad guy here because I don't feel that that's fair.
Thanks, Karen. I mean, I was so enthusiastic about you being our electrical inspector. I really was. And it's just slowly eroded away. My confidence is eroded away, and the town's confidence has eroded away as these complaints come in and these requests for other inspectors come in. And I feel like I'm stuck. I dreaded coming to this and dealing with this tonight. I dread it. And I still do.
Well, I do too, because of the facts. Like I said, I owned what I did previously, and then Fair's upset because I found things that are wrong, and they don't want to see it.
Well,
And what they said that I did, I proved incorrect.
Mr. President,
yes.
I make this statement with regret. I really don't. I really wish I didn't have to, because Jeff, I like you. You're a very talented person. You truly are. I don't do electricity, and you do a great job. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to ask for your removal as electrical inspector. I'll make that a motion, effective immediately.
I'll second the motion. And I'd just like to add that I also add all those sentiments I agree with. I like you personally, and I've said that from the beginning. I've learned so much about electrical work over these past 8 months, because of this. So I really just have like an appreciation, and it's my only fear is electricity as well. So I really just have an appreciation for what you do, and I know you're good at what you do, but maybe just not in the capacity of a town electrical inspector.
Do you have, since we have a motion and a second, do you have anything to add or any comments? I really like.
Well, I do have a concern that the fair never did call for their inspection. And then they were upset that they didn't get it done earlier. So I still feel as if there's something more going on.
Well,
So,
the fair isn't why we're here tonight, though.
no, but
It's just one of,
for people like to be upset because you have to pay $50,000 for electricity. That's not Jeff's fault. That's the code that required that. So the complaint, I think, came because of the bill. So I just don't think it's just an easy situation.
the complaint that I received was only because they couldn't make an appointment. They couldn't get him to show up.
What was this, Mark?
That was the Christmas pizza. called me frustrated because you had come in, you had made a couple of proclamations or evaluations. And then they were trying to get you to come back and they couldn't get you to come back. And so they asked me if I could get a hold of you and see if you could come back. And so I called you, I asked, hey, what's going on? And I said, could you give them a call and see when you could get in? That's as far as our conversation went that I remember. Hopefully you remember the same.
I remember it's slightly different.
But regardless, we have a motion and a second. How do you vote?
Yes,
Yes.
Yes,
abstain.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So am
Thank
I.
you, Jeff. Mr. President,
Yes,
motion to adjourn.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Um,